The hell is this game? I have noticed a few things when watching other critics on YouTube over the years. One of the biggest things is, depending on the form of media they usually review, there's always something they dread reviewing, whether it be a book, a movie, or in my case, a game. Now, there's not one particular game I dread playing, there's multiple. But in this case, I certainly was not looking forward to reviewing this one. Shadow the Hedgehog is a game that I don't remember thinking fondly of, even when it came out. To be fair, I would have been around 8 or so when it did. The only thing I vaguely remember of the game is when I was younger, I had a friend who owned a copy, and I tried it when I was over at his house one time. But even then, I don't remember anything of the game itself other than the basic things. I do remember playing the multiplayer mode, and that's about it. I don't even remember what entailed of the multiplayer mode other than a simple deathmatch. Frankly, I kind of just forgot about the game until I saw Some Call Me Johnny's review of it. And man, was it strange just to see the game again, even if I wasn't playing it. Now, I didn't really have a console until around 2012, so I didn't have a way to play a lot of Sonic games that came out when I was a kid, until much later. But even when hunting down Sonic games for my own personal collection, Shadow was never really one I was looking for. Now, to be fair, I enjoyed Shadow as a character, but granted, most kids at my age thought he was cool. It was the thing at the time for edgy characters to be the more popular ones in a franchise. And frankly, giving him his own game makes sense, considering that he was popular. But the thing that kind of bothers me is the convoluted way they give him his own game. Now, for starters, I don't hate the idea of giving Shadow a gun. Granted, that could just be the Ratchet and Clank fan in me. However, this game sure as hell isn't a Ratchet and Clank game. The guns might as well be a generic projectile that the game gives you. They don't feel like they pack much of a punch, especially when you can just use Shadow's homing attack. For as much shit as people give Sonic Forces, I have to praise its gameplay slightly because at least the Wispins felt like weapons in that game. Again, I don't hate giving Shadow a gun, but if you do, you have to at least give me a reason to pick it over the main attacks. Now, one of the other things this game does that kind of bothers me and a ton of other people is it introduces aliens, and more importantly, it makes them a part of Shadow's backstory. May I ask why? The backstory we had for him in Sonic Adventure 2 was fine. He was made to be the ultimate life form by Gerald Robotnik, and he went on a revenge-fueled rampage because Gunn killed his friend. That's all we needed. But here, we find out that Gerald used the DNA of an alien to create Shadow. Also, the laser on the Ark was actually to destroy the aliens' meteor that they plan on using to take over the Earth. With this, they even retcon the story to where Gunn raided the Ark because of this situation. Why? Why would they need to do that? Why did they think that changing Shadow's backstory was even a good idea? We didn't need them to change Shadow's backstory just to make this dumb story work. Apparently, this was made to appeal to a Western audience, and if that is the case, I actually feel slightly offended that this is what they thought Westerners would like. Now, allow me a bit to go into a bit of conspiracy theory here, but Allegedly, Yuji Naka, the main guy in charge of Sonic Team, for the longest time, was a bit of a xenophobe. He's a big reason why Sonic Extreme ended up getting canceled, and when Sonic Team moved to America, he didn't even trust the American devs working on the games, despite the fact that they shared an office. It angers me that he kind of screwed over multiple projects at Sonic Team and Sega Technical Institute just because of ego, more or less. I only bring this up because this whole appeal to Westerners thing most likely was his idea. And it's probably just me, but maybe it's not a good idea to let someone who already doesn't have a high opinion of Westerners make a game targeted towards said Westerners. Anyway, with that micro rant out of the way, let's get back to the game in question. Outside of changing Shadow's backstory, the rest of the story isn't much better. The game itself starts with Shadow standing on a hill, looking over a random city and questioning his past, considering he still has amnesia from Sonic Heroes. Unfortunately, before he can ask anyone about this, he's stopped by a creature calling themselves Black Doom, who tells Shadow that he'll explain everything to him if he brings him the Chaos Emeralds. Personally, you would think Shadow would immediately be a bit weary of someone calling themselves Black Doom, but funnily enough, you can choose whether or not Shadow actually follows him. The game itself is split into multiple different story paths. Do you side with Black Doom to help take over the world, or do you side with Sonic and save the world from these aliens that are attacking? Unfortunately, whatever choice you end up choosing doesn't matter because we have a final story that unlocks when you suffer through 10 of these different paths. There's not even anything I can really say that's positive about these stories. The easiest path to take is the neutral pathway, but the story for this path ends with Shadow believing he's an android made by Eggman before karate chopping him to death. The reason this path is the easiest is because at least all you have to do here is just get to the end of the stage. That's not to say the stages are easy to get through. The game is almost as slippery as Sonic Heroes. I will at least give it this. The deaths I suffered here felt more like they were my fault as opposed to in Heroes. So there's that. It's still slippery, but at least I felt like I was the one in charge of how many times Shadow died as opposed to the game screwing me over. However, I do have to address the elephant in the room, the guns. I brought them up earlier, but they were added to this game and it just feels clunky. Again, I don't hate the idea of weapons in a Sonic game. In fact, like I said, I enjoyed the Wispins that they added to Forces. But here, it just doesn't work. I don't know what exactly it is, but the weapons just feel tacked on, despite the fact that they're meant to be the main focus. It doesn't help that the ammo counts feel low to me. And at some point, I ended up turning on cheats and activating infinite ammo. Strangely enough, the second I did this, I started to enjoy the game a lot more. That's not to say the game itself was a better experience, but being forced to get to a place in a short amount of time or take down a moving vehicle before it escapes the stage while dealing with low ammo still got on my nerves. And the mission, where I have to spend 15 minutes hunting artificial chaos, can kiss my ass. The only thing left I really have to talk about is the final story. After playing through 10 different paths, it finally unlocks, and I'll quickly just explain what happens. After collecting all the Chaos Emeralds, Black Doom uses Chaos Control to bring the Black Comet that has been teased throughout the game to the Earth's surface. Black Doom explains that the Black Arms, the aliens you've been fighting, intend to use humans as an energy source. I guess in a way similar to the Matrix or something. It's not explained and I don't care. And the Black Comet begins to release a nerve gas into Earth's atmosphere that causes total paralysis to those who inhale it. Shadow, somehow not being affected, confronts Black Doom where he discovers that Gerald Robotnik created the Ark's Eclipse Cannon to destroy the Black Comet. For as much crap as I give the retcons, this is one retcon that I can understand. It gives a reason why they have a giant space laser pointing at the Earth. During their confrontation, Black Doom reveals that Shadow was created using his blood, which at least explains why he's immune to the gas, I guess. Black Doom then transforms into a giant beast called Devil Doom. In response, Shadow uses the Chaos Emeralds to transform into Super Shadow and confront Devil Doom. This fight is just there for me. It took way too damn long to complete. You have to fly towards Devil Doom and use Chaos Spear on him, but I swear the game only wants me to hit things half of the time. This isn't just a problem I had here. Any of the weapons you use have to be fired straight on. I don't understand why there isn't a way to aim any of the weapons more accurately. It made doing this fight harder than it ever should have been, because it felt like my attacks weren't doing anything. I had to use Chaos Blast to even make a dent for a while, and even then, that only got him halfway down. Still had about 10 minutes left in the fight, because the attacks just kept missing. Plus, every time you get close enough, after a while he'll just use Chaos Control and teleport away, forcing you to fly back to the new place. I do also want to bring up, sometime during the battle, if you wait long enough, Eggman confirms to Shadow that he is the original and not an android. I didn't really have anywhere else to put that, so there you go. Once you eventually do defeat him, Shadow uses Chaos Control to teleport the Black Comet back into Earth's orbit, where he obliterates it using the Eclipse Cannon, with his friends excited and the people at Gun Headquarters thinking, you know, maybe that evil Black Hedgehog isn't nearly as evil. This was a hard game for me to get through. I have gone on record and said that this is my least favorite game in the Sonic series, because it just didn't need to exist. That's not to say I completely hate the idea. The weapons can work if tweaked a bit. Again, Forces was able to take that mechanic and do it in an enjoyable way for all of Force's problems. Giving Shadow his own game is a good idea, but this story just sucks. Hell, my biggest problem with this game actually has to do with the multiple story paths. Again, they're not a horrible idea, but the way the game handles it angers me. Why make me play through 10 separate pathways just to unlock a final story that simultaneously ignores and acknowledges all the other pathways? If you want to have a canon pathway, make that the main path of the game and the other pathways be optional, not required to actually get the ending. Plus, if you wanted a nice final story, don't do a multiple pathway thing like you did here. Games like Undertale, to me, did this multiple pathway thing much better, because at least the true ending takes place after the good ending, and doesn't just suddenly reference events from the bad ending, despite never actually touching it. Plus, you don't have to play the genocide route, as fans call it, to get the final story. I'm happy to finally be done with this game. Now, with the other Sonic games I've done, there are mods for this game that do slightly improve the experience. And despite not having a PC version, to my knowledge anyway, this game does have mods. And I do want to recommend the Reloaded mod for the GameCube version, which is the version I played for this review. It does add a few quality of life fixes to the game, as well as making it slightly less tedious. That's not to say it completely changes gameplay. The missions where you have to hunt down a set number of enemies just to progress are still there. However, the number is slightly more manageable here as opposed to the main game. Plus, something that I actually found kind of funny is I unlocked the final story after just doing the true hero path. I did do 2 other paths beforehand, but I'm just happy that I didn't have to suffer 10 separate times. It definitely made getting this video out much quicker. And the best part is, this does work on official hardware, as long as you can play backups on your system. Again, the game still has problems, but it at least made getting through it much smoother. Luckily now, with that game behind me, I don't have to worry about suffering through any more Sonic games for a while. Which game is it? Well, at least it shouldn't be that bad to get through, as long as nothing major happens. Well,